welcome to another episode of Our Point of View Talk Show. Welcome to season 8. We are so glad that you guys could join us. We hope you guys had an amazing 3 weeks off, or we enjoyed our vacation, had our 3 weeks off as well, and we're back for season 8. So first I want to introduce one of our hosts to you. We have Miss Cinta Mickle. Hey, Cinta.
Good evening, everybody. Hey.
Welcome, welcome. And our special guest for this evening is Miss Charlene Jones-Moore. Hi, Miss Char.
Hello.
How are
Hello.
you?
Good, I'm great.
Good. And today we're going to be talking about early child education and the 3-tier education system. And Miss Charlene is out of Pittsburgh. So we're going to talk about, the differences between, I guess, in the different states, because we're here in Georgia. So we're going to see if it's a total difference. So Miss Charlene, can you go ahead and tell our viewing audience a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I am Charlene Jones-Moore. I am married. I've been married since '85. We have 4 sons, 2 grandchildren, and a new grandbaby. I kind of fell into this by accident. I was actually going to school to be a secretary back in the '80s. And my oldest son was in a child care center. And it was to the point where I couldn't afford to go to school and have a home, because me and my husband both were struggling with working and paying bills. So I went to the child care owner and I said, I have to pull my son out because I need to get a job. And she looked at me and she said, oh, I can give you a job. And I didn't think about it. I said, well, I like kids. It's fun. You're going to sit around and play all day and laugh, because my son at the time was 9 months. And she said, we'll put you in an infant room in another center, so you won't be with your son. I'm like, oh, more babies. It's going to be so great. Well, I got there and there were 17 babies in the room from 6 weeks to 12 months. They're considered infants until, believe it or not, till 23 months. They're still considered an infant until 23 months. And it was one room with 17 cribs lined up against the wall. And it was like a space in the middle and a refrigerator. And it was for a hospital. So, of course, there were no brown babies. And she made me the infant room supervisor because out of the 5 girls in the room, I was the only one with a high school diploma. So this is how far back it goes, and it changed and it evolved so much over the years, which you'll see. And basically that's what I did all day is I played with babies and I changed diapers and kind of hung out and sung a little bit of songs. It wasn't really focused on teaching anything. So, I worked there, and then after I left that position, I went to another child care center, and that's where I noticed the change. I didn't know, working at the center for 3 years, that the education system had changed until I went to this new center. And I got there and it was like whole different point of view. They had this thing called a curriculum for every child and every age, even in the infant, was a curriculum. And you had to sit down and write lesson plans, and you had to sit down and plan field trips. And when I got there, I walked into the school. It was in the garage of a mall, a parking garage of a mall. And there were no windows. It was just a bunch of cars and an elevator. And it was a private entrance. And I walked into the room. I walked in with the supervisor, who was a friend of the other lady who happened to own a center. And I walked in and she was like, well, this is the room you're going to be teaching in. They're all 3 to 5-year-olds. Gave me a back real quick. Now, here's the lesson plan. And I'm like, lesson plan? And she left. So I'm waiting for the other teacher to come. Now, mind you, we went on this interview at around 10, 11 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm in the morning. And I walk in, I'm gonna wait till somebody comes in to help me because I don't know these kids' names. I don't know what I'm doing. It was me. There was nobody with these children until I walked in that room. So there were approximately 12 2-year-olds, 4 3-year-olds, and 1 5-year-old, and there was nobody with them until I got there. And I'm like, wait a minute. So that was the brimstone and fire part of my job, where I learned how states involved, school districts involved, how the health department's involved, how food services involved. I began to realize there was a curriculum, and the curriculum was very, very specific. It was like you had a month to teach these children these certain things. And me being the kind of person I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get these kids to learn their names, their letters, their numbers, ABCs, one, two, threes. And I had this routine where you sat down, shut your mouth, pay attention. You only answer if I say so. After 10 years of that, um, it turned into a lot of different more regulations. Then something called NACI came in, and PACey, and more people came with their demands and their curriculum demands. And so I said, I'm going back to school. So in 1999, I enrolled at a community college in Pittsburgh, and they had a collaborative with IUP, which you can get your associate's degree and a bachelor's degree at CCAC, because the IUP professors came down to community college and you could work that way. Well, that didn't work out at all, because I was working full time, going to school full time, got pregnant again with my second son. It was just, I ended up leaving after 3 years and had no degree. So went along with life again, another baby, uh, working. I had all these credits because I went to IUP, and then I went to CCAC again, and then I went to Point Park, and then I went to Duquesne. Never had a degree, and piling up all these credits. Um, Went to Carnegie Mellon, all for education. Now just wasted my money, all my student loans, all my grants, piling up all this debt. So finally, fast forward, going from center to center, learning about how there's something called Keystone Stars, and then there's Oakdale. There's all these initials that govern childcare, but they all have their own ideas of what childcare is. So you have NACI, who says, well, I think all teachers should have at least a bachelor's degree, and they should all have these trainings, and you should all have the background needed to work with children, and you should have all these things, and blah, 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 blah. And then there's Keystone Stars that says, oh no, we want them to take these trainings, we want them to learn these things, we want them to teach these things, and we're going to pay for you to go to school. Then there's the state, who says, you can't have kids sitting that close together, and you can't have that spoon there, and you can't have uh, that doll in this room, and you can't have that by the sink, and you need three sinks, because you need one sink to wash your hands, one sink to wash their hands, and one sink for art. And then there's Octel that says you need to have a certain amount of toys for each child. So if you have a pot and pan set, each child needs their own. But then the ratios were crazy, because in the infant room, the ratio was for every 4 infants, had to be one teacher. So now you have one teacher in there, let's just give you a little downscale, who has a 6-week-old, a 9-month-old, 11-month-old, and a 21-month-old, 4 different age groups, doing 4 different things. I had 3 kids at that time, and my kids had like 8-year gaps, 3-year gap, 4-year gap, but I was still like, I couldn't keep track. Now, can you imagine being someone in there with these 4 age groups and infants? It's crazy. And that's state law in Pennsylvania. And then we had a reading program come in through Carnegie Library. And they had their thing of every child should have 15 books. So if you have 4 children, it's 14, it's 4 books, it's 15 books times 4. And then even as you go up into the next age group, which is young toddler, is 5-1. Then after young, just older toddler is 6-1. Then after that is preschool one, which is 10-1. So you have 10 3 to 5-year-olds under your care, and they're not all potty trained. Then you have and after the 5, it goes into primary school, which is 1 to 35, and that's crazy too. But you get all these chiefs with all these ideas, and so I said, okay, I got to finish school. I got to finish school and get a degree because I had literally over 100 credits and no degree. So I sat down one day and I called Point Park and I called community college and I called IUP. I said, how much do I owe? I'm getting money from, income tax. I'm going to pay y'all guys off. So I literally sat down for 3 months and went to 3 colleges at once and finished 3 degrees in 2 months. It wasn't like I had all these classes because some overlapped. Like I had IUP and Point Park. I needed to take the same class to get both of my bachelor's degrees. So I did that. And then I finished my other degree.
Oh, I hope we're not losing her. Charlene, can you hear us? But while we're waiting for her to come back on, welcome. I get now Lieutenant Eric Jackson.
A money maker, it's a cash cow.
Oh, she's back. Okay. You were frozen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Early childhood has become a cash cow. It's not really what it was meant to be as it started out in the early 1800s.
So since you just mentioned the early child education, tell us what it is. Tell us exactly
what it is. Technically 6 weeks to 5 years, that's early child education on the first level. That's where the whole idea of grooming children for an academic career in school and understanding exactly what you need to do before you get to kindergarten, basically. And at first, like I said, I was all into ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, colors, shapes, all that kind of stuff. But then, like I said, I realized going as I got through this more into the system, I realized that those things are irrelevant. Learning your ABCs, learning your numbers, learning your colors and shapes are irrelevant. There is no use to learning ABCs because you don't say APPLE. You say apple. So when you say apple, you say the sound of the letter, not the name of the letter. So when parents come to me and say, oh, they can say their ABCs, I'm not impressed. They can count, I'm not impressed. The letter colors, I'm not impressed. And they say, oh, my child can read, they're 4. They teach monkeys to read. I'm not impressed. Here's what's impressive to me in a 3-year-old. They can follow a 3-step direction. They can problem solve, and they can communicate and understand, and they have the ability to have self-control. That's more important than learning a letter, a number, a shape, a color, because you'll do that for the rest of your life. We sit down with 6-week-old children and we help them with more than anything, gross motor. And we talk to them the way I'm talking to you. I told my kids, both of my sons, and I told a few of my cousins, does nothing. It's actually confusing to a child because they'll hear you talking to like, whatever, how you doing? And you go, oh, boo, boo, boo. They're like, what? Didn't you was just talking to her like, what's up, girl? How you doing? And now boo, boo, poo, poo. That's confusing. And I always tell people, when you talk to your child, talk to them even if they're 2 months old, that creates more brain activity. You say, what are you crying for? What do you need? They're not going to answer you. Of course, you're 2 months old, but it's all a foundation of understanding language. Understanding language is a big deal because when you listen to children of different uh, countries, they don't talk like that. They talk like, you talk to you hear a kid in Asia, they're like ching pong 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 pong. They're not goo goo boo boo lulu boo boo or wawa or baba or num nums. They don't talk like that. They talk the way their parents talk. And we try to get parents to understand too, quit confusing your kids with names. If you name your child Leonard, if you're gonna call him Lenny, call him Lenny. Don't call him big man, little man. Don't do that. That gives them another complex.
No nicknames.
You can, if it's like for instance, people call me Shar. Okay, I'm good with that. You can call me Shar. You can call me CJ or whatever. That's good. But when they're like two, like 1.5, 2, nicknames should be over. No nicknames, because then once again, you give them that complex of who they are. And people don't realize that because, like I said, I gotta have a little girl. She's 4. She's in my room, and they call her Mookie Butt. Mooka Butt. It took me 3 months to get her to understand her name was Lanaya. Your name is Lanaya. I would call her Mooka Butt, huh? That's not her name. You have to be, people cause a lot of confusion in children because they were confused as children. Right. And we don't realize that because it's so deep rooted. So early child education, we try to, peel that apart, get rid of it so their brains could be open to more understanding. Like here's my motto. We are the soil that nurtures the seed, that grows the tree, that bears the fruit, that feeds the world. So early education, we're that soil. We get it started. We get it started and we get the kids ready to go into actually real life. They go into real life, and some make it, some don't, because there's always the outside world. You can't get rid of that. But you have to realize that you have to give them a running start. And when they hit 2 or 3, they should be ready to be more independent, more self-sufficient. I have a child in my class now. He's on level 3 autism. He has ADHD and he's OCD. Well, I made him OCD. That was a side effect of my teaching. I told myself I'm so sorry, but I had to train him in a way to get him to understand cleaning up and self-sufficiency. He
Yep, she's freezing again.
Does she know when she freezes?
I explain to parents, you have to be careful of, did I freeze again?
You did.
You have to be careful. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I freeze on the autistic boy?
Yes. You made him.
Okay.
Okay, all the cleaning
OCD.
and everything. Yeah.
But also I've got him to the point now where he's cleaning up, he's dressing himself, he's feeding himself. And I always tell parents, young children are like, empty chalkboards, and whatever you put on them, whatever you imprint on that child, you have to be super careful because they tell us everything. It's like I know they go home and talk about me. In early childhood, we try to work with them in the way to teach them social skills, behavioral skills, language and comprehension. I have one little girl also in my room. She's going to kindergarten, and her mom is real, I don't know, hood. And because she's been around her mom and her aunts and stuff, she doesn't know that what she's doing isn't acceptable. She'll be in dramatic play and she'll be like, didn't I tell you I wanted $25? I need $25. Bring it, bitch. And I'm like, come here.
Wow.
Come here, real quick. Let me talk to you. And see,
Real quick.
people don't understand that's not cute. And I talked to her and I try to explain to her, this is how you talk to someone on the phone. First of all, don't hold it like that. You put it on your ear, you take it off speaker. And she did this to me. I don't need no direction. I said, oh, okay, you a hard case. But now I'm teaching her better behavior. Now she's learning because she has better behavior. And like I said, parents come to me all the time. Oh, she can read. I'm like, yeah, monkeys can read. You're not impressing me. I'm teaching my dog how to press certain color buttons to talk to me. He runs to the blue button. He knows the blue button. Dogs aren't colorblind. People think that, but they're not. He runs to the blue button, hits it. Mommy, out. And this is a dog. So I keep telling people, parents, and I try to get them to understand that you don't want to just sit around teaching them minute root information. We teach them things that you don't think about. Like for instance, I teach my kids where milk comes from, where eggs come from, where hamburger comes from. I asked my class, where's hamburger come from? McDonald's. And said hamburger come from McDonald's. I'm like, no. So I showed up a video. This is where hamburger comes from. This is where milk comes from. Eggs comes out of a chicken spot. This is where things come from. And I have a lot of parents who come to me and they say, well, I don't want them knowing that. I said, but they know Nicki Minaj and Doja Cat and what's the other girl with the nails that was naked doing a video. Anyway.
Make it 3 steps, 3 pounds.
Yeah, and I'm like, you let your kids come in telling me, oh, I said, okay, what do you want to sing? And they're getting up, shaking their butt, twerking. And I'm like, but don't tell them where eggs come from. That is like crazy to me. Today, one of my students came in and he said, I'm a zombie. And I looked at him right in the face. He's 5, he's going to kindergarten. And I said, oh, you're a zombie? I said, well, I'm not a zombie. He said, I'm going to get you. I said, no, I'm going to get you. I said, how do you get zombies? He said, you shoot them in the head. And I said, so you shoot zombies in the head, correct? And he's like, I'm going to play with the Legos. I said, okay, go play with the Legos. He thought about it. I was like, wait a minute. If I was a zombie, So that's what I mean. You let your kids watch Pennywise. A little boy come in talking about I'm Pennywise. And I said, well, I'm still Miss Shar, and you can go over there and sit down. And that's what I mean. Some of these parents don't understand how important these first 5 years are. They look at they talk to me like, oh, you're playing all day. I'm like, okay, yep. That's why I had 2 assistants go to lunch and not come back. These are only 3 and 5-year-olds. Early childhood, we're teaching them how to govern themselves in the world. So they're not going to be that cuckoo friend or that crazy girl who'll do anything for a sucker, And along the way, they learn colors, numbers, shapes. They learn how to read and recognize certain words, and they do all that. We do all that, but we also teach them the most important thing is self-governance.
Mm.
And a lot of people don't see that except for kindergarten teachers.
So, Ms. Shar, what are some of the parents' expectations versus the reality of the early child education?
Oh, they want us to they want us to make like Einsteins. They want the kid to come in. They want to give them homework. They want me to. They want them to be like they come in with this idea that I'm going to sprinkle fairy dust on these kids and make them absolutely smart. But you don't even check their backpacks. Every other Wednesday, RIF comes in and our kids get books from RIF. And the one day, this mother comes in and she's like, "Why is your book back?" And she's livid. Now, this is like maybe the end of November, and she's mad. And she's yelling at this little boy about his backpack being so heavy. What do you got here? She opens it up, and it's these books that he's been getting every other week from RIF. And all the papers that I've been sending home, all the papers that mental health has been sending home. And she's literally like dumping out this book bag. I'm looking at her like, I can see you, right? I see you haven't checked this book bag in like 4 months. What's all this junk? She says. I said, well, all that junk are the books he's been getting from RIF, the 3 notes I sent home to you about COVID protocol, the mental health notes about he needs an IEP because your son has been determined to be autistic, And she really looked at me and was like, oh, why y'all put so much stuff in this book bag? And I'm like, Lord, build a fence, take the wheel, do something before I punch this lady in the face.
So is it really hard? Is it really hard to get the parents to participate in their child's education?
Yes. The only thing they participate in is sending snacks and candies. If we say it's a parent meeting tonight, and I know for my parents, I know what days they are off and what days they work because I have their schedule. And I'm like, well, we're having a parent meeting tonight. Could you come in? Oh, no, I'm pretty busy. But say we're having a party. Oh, they come in with bags of Oreos, bags of Skittles, bags of chocolate, big bins of Sam's cupcakes. And they compete.
Why do you think that
things.
is? Why do you think that is? Because I mean, it hasn't changed. I mean, it's the same way here in Georgia. Because I used to be the PTSA president for Tri-Cities High School. Couldn't get a parent to come to a meeting. Couldn't get a parent liaison, and couldn't get them to come in to have a parent-teacher conference. The only time you would see them is if the child is getting ready to get left behind and have to, repeat a grade or something, or not graduate from high school. So why do you think that's a problem?
Because that's the way they were treated.
It's a cycle.
That's the way they saw their parents treat their educational, academic path. They saw their parents. Oh, my parents always brought cupcakes. My parents always brought juice boxes. My parents never went to parent-teacher conferences. My parents never went to parent night. My parent never went to, and that's what they see. And people don't realize that they're mimicking you, not taking care of their scholarly academic path. And so when they get older, they do the same thing. Well, my mom ain't care about PTO. My dad didn't even come to the house. Well, you care about academics. Because I really had one parent say to me, this ain't important. All you do is play all day, you color. First of all, if you come to my classroom, all my markers and crayons are still brand new because my kids don't use them because I'm not an art person. They just come in and they're more doing Legos and blocks and dramatic play and library. They're doing engineering and mathematics, and people don't see that Legos are engineering. People don't see that dramatic play is learning to be socialized. People don't see that being in the library is technology and math. People look at the things that we do as games. It's like, it's not a game. And the games that we play, half my parents wouldn't win anyway. My kids would wipe them off the board with the games that we play. But the main problem is it's a cycle of learned behavior that you see, but you're not really processing that this is what you're seeing. It's just what they do. And that's why I try to get my parents involved. And here's one of the ways that I get my parents involved in the actual coming to the like parent teacher conferences. Oh, well, you know what? Last parent teacher conference, Jay's mom came and she said, oh, what? Jay's mom came to the last one? I'm coming to this one. Oh, you know what? Zakel's mom came. Zakel's mom and dad showed up for last, and they brought me a nice card. What? I'm coming. We're coming. I don't care where he at. He coming too. And that's how I get them. I get them to make them think that they're poor parenting. And they don't want to be that parent to be like, oh, you're a poor parent. You're not doing a great job with your kid because you're not showing the PTO. And that's how I get them.
Miss Charlene, exactly what is this three-tier education system?
Did she freeze again?
She's unfrozen.
Was I frozen again?
You were frozen again.
I'm so gonna fight my cable company. I cannot believe this is terrible. I'm so frustrated.
I'm gonna be frustrated. Did you hear?
I told my son to get up.
Were you able to hear the question? Sentence question?
No, ask me the question again, please.
I was asking exactly what is that three-tier educational system, and is it across the board? I mean, how is it put together and is it across the board?
Okay, here's the thing. A lot of people have been either in it or did it and didn't know what it was. Back in the 1800s, England, back 1817, everybody was in the same little classroom at the Little Red School. Everybody, no matter what age you were, you had like 4-year-olds and 18-year-olds all in the classroom. And somebody in England in the 1800s a teacher said, this is not working. I can't have 8-year-olds in here with 12-year-olds. I can't teach this. So they made it so there were 3 tiers of teaching: primary, middle, and high school. And that's the 3 tiers of teaching. And it's been that way for a long time. People have been tweaking it and trying to figure it out and moving it around. Some were like, okay, we're going to put K through 6 together and then mix just 7 and 8 because of their hormones and crap. We're going to just make them a school. Then we're going to make 9 to 12. Then they said, wait a minute, that's not working either because we have different learning levels of these children. So then they said we're going to make kindergarten ABC. Then we're going to make first grade ABC. Like we're going to group the kids together as they learn. Then they got that going. Then they're like, wait a minute, we got to break this down even more. Then they said, forget it. We can't keep breaking down these learning levels because we're going to have one teacher, one kid in a minute. And there's no way we can do that with the money and the space that we have. So they tried to implement things like dance and music. They tried to make performing arts schools to pull those kids out because there were kids who were really good with music and art. So they said, we're going to make another whole different school for them. And then they said, well, wait a minute. Now we have kids who are
Your volume went out, Char. Can't hear you.
Maybe she's on mute.
No, she's not on mute. Okay, we can hear you now.
Okay, I thought I froze again. I'm sorry. So basically what happened is they just said the 3-tier system, we'll put it up there on the board and we'll say we're doing it, but we're not. They kept the schools separated basically for hormone issues. Like you really can't put a 5th grader with a 9th grader. and you can't really put an 8th grader with a 12th grader. So they just kind of keep it separate for those reasons. Then they have things called pull out, where you go to a classroom and you have a kid who's in math 2, but should be in math 4. So you go to math 2, you pull that kid out and put them in math 4, but you put them in math 4 and there's 12th graders in that class. So you have this 8th grader still mixing with 12th graders, which happened to me. Because I was the youngest of 8, I was able to mimic learning. This is why I say learning ABCs 1, 2, 3 don't impress me. I was able to mimic okay, I'm sorry. I saw I was frozen. What happened to me was basically what they didn't want to happen. Because I was the youngest of 8, I was able to mimic my older siblings' learning. Like my older siblings were 2 years ahead. One was 2 years ahead of me, one was 4 years ahead of me, and one was in high school when I was in elementary school. So I sat around the table, I watched them do their homework, and I was, memorize stuff that they were doing. So when I went to school, they were like, "Oh, she's so smart." No, I wasn't. I just memorized what they knew, what they were doing. So they started putting me up into these classrooms. So when I got to high school, I was 14 in the 11th grade, which didn't work out well at all. But this 3-tiered learning system is just a farce. It's not, you only benefit from it if you benefit from it. And if you don't, you don't. I mean, there's just no magic potion. There's no magic idea. I went to Brashear High School where they had, specific career oriented. It used to be called OVT, but they put the
OVT on the bus.
Instead of going on the bus, they put OVT in Brashear.
They put it in the school. Really? Wow.
Yeah, we had dry cleaning, we had fast food, we had sewing, we had ceramics, we had restaurant hospitality, we had auto mechanics, we had an IBM, a whole IBM floor.
Wow.
And so people, secretarial, engineering, we had classes, like I had a class that was a scholars physics class. And the only reason why I got through that because I was a cheerleader, and half of the time I had to leave to go to the football game or basketball game. So I wasn't in class. So my teachers gave me a C. If I would have had a test, I would have flunked that class. But because he was the football coach, we was leaving class together. So that's how I passed that scholarship. I was like, I don't know what y'all talking about, but I'm going to cheerleader. I got a football game. We got to go. Let's go, coach. We got to go. And the basketball coach was my geometry teacher. So when I'm sitting in geometry, the basketball season, let's go. Cheerleader, coach, we gotta go. And that's how I got through geometry, trigonometry, and physics and chemistry, because those 4 teachers were on like coaches and assistant coaches. And when they left, I'm out. And that's why there was, even when I was in, I didn't go to school till I was 7. And when I went, I had no idea. I just went because my mom put me in, my mom said, go to school. That's what I did. I just went down the street where the school was and walked in the building and sat down. I didn't know what I was doing. And when I did finally understand that, oh, you have to stay when the bell rings. You don't go home when the bell ring, I left. Well, yeah, I guess it's time to go. And I said, okay, I'm supposed to stay here. And I didn't know you were not supposed to eat marbles. Like 20 marbles. I thought it was candy. I didn't know. Nobody told me it was. I was like, oh, round candy. I was like, where's the flavor? I kept eating like, where's the flavor? There's no flavor in these things. That's what I mean. You have to teach kids at a young age basic things. Like you can't be out in the street clapping at people. Oh, you are 4. But even like at the middle school, And when I got to middle school, it became a performing arts school. So in the morning, I had math, science, English, science, and has something else in civics. But in the afternoon, it was dance, music, and drama.
And what school was
That's not a
that?
good.
What
It was
school?
back. It was called Gladstone before it was Rogers.
Oh, okay.
Before Rogers came along, it was Gladstone,
So you were in
and
Hazelwood?
that was it. Mhm.
You were out in Hazelwood? Okay.
Yeah, I grew up literally 4 houses away from the school, so you could look up my dining room window and see if I went to school or not. So you can't cut class. All the neighbors are watching you walk down the street like, get to class. And that was a bad idea because I zoned out of the morning. I didn't care about reading and writing and math. I couldn't wait to get to dance and drama. I couldn't sing a lick, but that was a part of the afternoon. I would go there and just lip sync. But I couldn't wait to get to dance and drama. And that was a bad idea. And the whole idea of separating them by age is a good idea. But that's about the benefit of 3-tier, is separating them because of age and different mental and different chemical body things, and the whole puberty. That's the only benefit to having them separated in primary, middle, and high school. Otherwise than that, there is no benefit.
No. Okay, so how do the staff and the administration differ on their views of early child education? So what's the difference between the staff and administrator?
Well, as I've done both. I was the assistant director, the youth coordinator, which deals with after school and summer camp. I was the infant room lead teacher. I was the toddler room supervisor. I was preschool teacher 1, 2, and 3. So there's not a part of the interworkings of childcare that I didn't do. I was never the executive director. I wasn't messing with thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars. I wasn't putting my hands on that. No, thank you. Because as a director, I saw how money was supposed to be here, but we going to put it over there. And as a director, I'm like, no. That money needs to stay here, because the money came from the state, and the state said this money is for the children to get a new playground. You're telling me you need your kitchen redone. Hell no. Stepping on some toes. You want to tell me because the pastor said he needs some new gators and his daughter's having a prom party, we could wait for new cribs? Hell no. So with me having that issue of being a part of administration, I come into work one day and I was told, you don't need to come to the meetings anymore. We're going to make you the lead teacher in the toddler room. Okay. Toes hurt, don't they? Keep stepping on the phone. I step on from the toddler room. And as the staff, you're like, I know I have 5 kids in my room, but I really gotta pee. Can someone come in here just so I can go pee? Oh, you know what? I gotta run down to the other building, or you know what? I got this pay. I gotta do this budget, or you know what? I just told you I gotta pee. I've been here since 6:30. It's 1:50. It's 1:45. I gotta pee. Oh, you know what? I'll see if I can find somebody. Happens all the time. It's time for you to go to lunch. Okay, it's my lunch break. You know what? I need you to stay because you can leave early. You can leave early. Well, when can I leave early? Well, we have to see when they can leave early. You quit before you leave early. Literally. It's like, okay, I've been working here for 6 years. I can tell you I went to lunch maybe twice. And then you can't leave the building. You're always a part of ratio. You're always, even if you're in the cafeteria on site eating lunch and you're supposed to be technically clocked out, you're not. You're never clocked out until you actually leave the building, you're going home. And administration has this idea that As long as they don't get caught hitting the kids, we keeping them. As long as they don't get caught drinking on a job, we're going to keep them until they get caught. As long as they show up, even though it's 12 o'clock, they're supposed to be here at 8, we're going to keep them.
Now, is this all because of money? Because I know, like in Georgia, we had Title One.
No,
So it's like
no.
you have so many kids
I
in
am more. No, it's not. The money comes from me. In Pennsylvania, the money comes from people with degrees. You get more money because I have more degrees. Believe me, there is a long list of kids. There's waiting lists everywhere for children. That's not the problem. The problem is you're going to bring me in with 4 degrees. I'm a National Honor Society person. I belong to Divine Nine Sorority. I have backing of the mayor. I have multiple trainings. I have trainings. I could work with Fauci. That's the kind of trainings I have. I have trainings to work in the library. I could work in the library. I could work in so many different kind of educational genres because of what I know and what I did with my trainings. I'm the money. Not that you got children. My classroom has 8 kids, but I won't take anymore. I got 5 people trying to get in my room now. No, I got 4 autistic children. I'm not taking anymore. And the more degrees and the more certifications, I have certifications to work with blind, deaf, mental health. I have every certificate. I've worked with children who saw people who saw their parents shoot their other parent. I've got children under the age of 5 who stabbed people dead, and they in my room. Kid 4 years old didn't like his brother. Brother kept picking with him, so he said, "Well, this is how they do it in Goodfellas." This is what he said. This is how they did it on Goodfellas. And he stabbed him, killed him. I'm like, okay. And people don't see this. It gets to the point where people don't realize that they're already damaging their kids because they're damaged and they don't see nothing wrong with it. So I'm okay.
So what are your suggestions as far as breaking those cycles?
It's worse than the whole, here, I'm gonna say this. It's hard to break because some people like it. Like I say about racism. There are Black people who like racism because they like to know their place, or they like to know, this is my idea and I'm fine with it. And that's why the cycle is so thick and there's layers. You can't just cut it with a knife and say it's broken. It's layer on layer on layer on layer on layer. It's so thick. And it's like an onion, keep peeling it. Sometimes you just don't get to the middle and it stink. And it will make you cry. I've cried a lot over these kids. Just recently, I've had 2 of my kids get gunned down. I had them like early in their life. And sometimes the teacher, you can see it. You see it. This one little boy got gunned down in the summer. I was like, I knew it. I had him for 3.5 years. Now, 3.5 years, I was like, he ain't gonna make it. And he didn't. He didn't. He was 16 years old, and I saw him every once in a while. And then when I seen him, I was like, that's just, and it's terrible because sometimes it's the parents that promote the behavior because he was paying the bills. So mom didn't care about him and she made sure she got her bills paid. there's no, I don't want to sound morbid, but working in this field of education, I don't see it being broken because too many people like it. Like I got a parent now, 6 baby daddies, and she made sure they all had good jobs because she sued them all for child support, and she living on a high hog because her 6 baby daddies got good jobs. And she said, if I find another one, I'm gonna have 7 baby daddies, and that's sad. And she's teaching her oldest daughter to get baby daddies. She's teaching her how to hunt for baby daddies because that's how she's getting along. You see, and you can't tell her nothing because she's successful. She's doing really well. So you can't tell her, you shouldn't teach your daughter to be a hoe because she's a good hoe. So you can't tell her not to. I mean, success isn't always good. It doesn't always have a pretty face. It isn't always a shiny trophy. You know, I've run into people where they were serious gangbangers, serious ones where they were like, they threatened me, and I'm like, I ain't scared of you. I'm not, and I'm still here. You know, I had, I've had Steeler parents. I've had Penguin parents. I've had Pirate parents. I've had our soccer team. We have a soccer team here in Pittsburgh. I've had their kids. Some of the nicest people, some of the best parents, believe it or not, are the ones who understand that their kid's not perfect. I have a couple of parents now who know their kid's a handful. Do whatever you need to do, Miss Shar. I mean, don't tell me that. um, like I said, I've had Steeler parents. They're the worst. Out of all the sports teams that the children that I've kept or worked with, football parents are the worst. They are the worst. And you know what? They're always broke. But I don't want to sound morbid about breaking the chain, but it's not going to be broken. It's just a sad reality. We all have to accept it. It's not.
So since you're saying it's not going to be broken, the chain's not going to be broken, what is it that you're trying to accomplish with these students? What is your
If I can get one student to come out of this and believe that they are the answer, that's all I'm looking for. And I've had several students. I had a student back when I first started back in the 80s. I had her and her brother. She finished with me in preschool. She went to, elementary. She hit middle school and became this extra smart person. They found out she had a very high intelligence. So they put her in another school in Philadelphia. So she graduated from high school in the 10th grade, went to college at the age of 16. When she came out of college, she was second in her class. And because she was the youngest one graduating, they wanted her to give a speech. So she got up there on the stage and she's talking. She thanks her mother and her grandmother. She thanks her uncle. And it's just, I didn't believe the mom until I saw the video. She said, however, the person that I want to thank the most is the person that showed me that education is important, and it's very important to have self-regulation. And she said, I want to thank my preschool teacher, Miss Shar. I cried. Her mom said she said if it wasn't for you, she probably wouldn't be standing there graduating out of college at the age of 19. And I'm like, oh my God. And that's what I want. I mean, like I said, I had a couple kids just get shot, killed, I had a couple kids. A lot of my students are in jail. My son, a lot of his friends were in a lot of my classes. And then I have my third son, he has a friend that's trying to be a rapper. He's been shot up 3 or 4 times, and he's still out there acting the fool. Um, there's always, like I said, there's always the exception. There's always an exception to someone being able to come out ahead and make a difference. And that's my goal in early childhood. I have a lot of parents who follow me around and will bring their grandkids to me. You know, I have a lot of children who are like in their 30s who I had in preschool hunt me, where do you work? Where do you work? And I'm like, man, okay. You know, and I've had it done. I've just actually got a family away from me because there's no more babies. I'm like, there's no more y'all, right? I'm done. Y'all ain't gonna follow me no more. I'm done with y'all. I look at this in a way as myself. My mom and dad were alcoholics. My 2 older sisters were, they were born in the 50s. They lived through the 60s and 70s, and they was out there. They had multiple fathers with their children. My one brother's in the military, so he's a military rat. My 3 brothers that I grew up with were drug, alcohol, street people, just not good at all. Me, I was the youngest. I was nothing like them. I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't hang out. I was going to school, but I don't know why, but I went every day. I didn't hang out in the streets. I had 3 friends, literally 3 friends, because one lived 2 doors down and 2 lived up by the playground. And that's who I played with. I didn't like wear makeup. They put me in a school because I wouldn't wear makeup. So she sent me to this Barbizon modeling school to learn how to put on makeup. And I'm like, but I don't want to wear makeup. I didn't. I was 13 when I realized it was a downtown Pittsburgh. Didn't it was a downtown Pittsburgh. When I was 14, everybody thought I was gay because I wasn't dealing with boys. Because I had 3 brothers who I fought every day. I mean, like fist fight, had my nose broken twice by my brother, lost a tooth, black eyes, choking me. I hated boys. I mean, anybody looked at me, I would punch them. Literally. What's up? Bam. Don't talk to me. I hate boys. And then the boys would fight me because I wasn't your typical 13-year-old. I had long hair. I had a breast that was a 38B, 13 years old, big boobs, little waist, big booty, big thighs. I didn't look 13, didn't look 14. I looked 18 for real. And then I had makeup. Jeez. So I was fighting boys almost every day. So my dad said, I'm going to send you with your sister in Wilkinsburg for a while because you were just an animal. I'm like, yeah, you touched my butt. So I punched him in his throat. So we're out there, me and my niece, who is like a year younger than me. Well, she's 6 months younger than me. My mom and my sisters were all pregnant at the same time. It was crazy. And I heard this band playing. So I go across the street to this house. Didn't know whose house it was, but I'm like, there's a band in there. So this guy on the drums. That's the first time I ever felt like, oh, he's cute. And I married him, and we're still together. That was back in 82. So, and see, a lot of people don't realize that, you know, your children are watching you. They're watching your behavior. I had to take my scales out of my dramatic play out of my one job because they was cutting up cocaine on them. Tested. I was like, what do you mean tested? That's flour and sugar. What are you doing? You know, I had a couple guns, A couple kids bringing guns in their backpacks. I've had a dad put crack in a little boy's backpack. Because sometimes kids don't know not to tell. And sometimes you tell a kid, don't tell. That means, ooh, I'm telling. Little boy told me, my dad said, don't tell, Miss Sharp, but he didn't say, don't tell you. I got a crack in my backpack. Oh, Lord Jesus. And see, that's that cycle.
Yeah.
You know, it's frustrating. We have to work within it. You know, we have to manipulate within it and work within it. And like I said, in early child care, that's what I do. I tell my kids, I don't like liars. Don't lie to me. And when they tell me a lie, I say, you're lying. You're being a liar. I don't put sugar and whatever on these children because you can't. Like I said, you come and make Nicki Minaj and talking about little Nas X, and then you can be called a liar. I don't know why parents get so upset about me calling their kid a liar, but you let your daughter come in with this big necklace on talking about bitch, talking about picture day. And she's a necklace on, literally picture day. And at first I was like, what does that say? Because your brain's not registering what your eyes are seeing. And I'm like, does that say bitch? Yep. She had this big necklace on for picture day and it said bitch. 3 years old. 3 years old.
Oh my gosh.
And then she wouldn't move. She kept doing this. When we would walk down the hall, she'd be like, I can't lose my beads, Miss Shar. Take them beads out right now. Throw them on the ground. I can't lose my beads. My mom gonna get mad if I lose my beads. I said, ain't no master gonna get you, girl. Believe me, I'm fighting a battle every day trying to get these kids to understand that dirt doesn't hurt you. Beads aren't important. It doesn't matter if you can shake your booty or not. It's not that important. And that's the battle I have with parents. And I have grandparents younger than me. I'm 55. Man, walking 37 years old talking about this is my granddaughter. Honey, 37 with a granddaughter. That's what I mean. That cycle. Where's it going? It's just spinning.
Well, thank you so very much, Ms. Shar. I'm sorry, but our time is up. I mean, you educated us on the early child education, what you have to deal with in Pittsburgh. I mean, my hat goes off to you. You know, you have your
Thank you. We just need some more hoorahs for us.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I grew up on the Hill. I went to Brashear High School, you know.
Oh, okay.
But I turned out okay. So
did I. Look at my wall.
You turned out okay. What can be done?
I'm good.
Degrees. Well, thank you so very much for joining us and sharing your information, and the best of luck to you in, you know, working with the students. Don't give up, and we know you're not going to. But thank you so very much for joining us.
You're welcome. If you have any questions, you got my email. Shoot them to me. I'm full of information.
Now, you want to give out your email address if anyone in Pittsburgh want to get in touch with you, or if anyone anywhere else has any questions for you?
You can give out my email address. Let me see. Let me put it in the chat real quick. Oops, that's not it.
Charlene is 7199399.
It's my birthday, July 19, 1966.
66.
At Gmail.
Okay, it's Charlene 71996 at gmail.com. If anyone wants to get in touch with Ms. Shar about early child education, it's Charlene, which is CHARLENE 71966 at gmail.com. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Captain Jackson, for sliding on in here. We appreciate you. And Central, thank you for being with us. And just guys, remember, everything you heard and everything we said was our point of view. We'll see you next time.